Hi, I'm Marty Levinson. Welcome to the Northtown News Magazine.
Hello, my name is Marty Levinson, and welcome to the Northtown News Magazine.
Hi, I'm Marty Levinson, and welcome to the Northtown News Magazine.
For the identity of the real Marty Levinson, please stay tuned for the Northtown News Magazine.
Come on, baby, don't you wanna go? Come on.
Hi, I'm Marty Levinson. Welcome to the Northtown News Magazine show with the greatest cameraman around, Sonny Hirsch, and your host, Avi Myers.
Thank you, Marty. Avi Myers, Northtown Neighborhood News Magazine, a presentation of Sonny Hirsch and myself. Web, ntnm.org. Everything's on YouTube. Community Policing Caps24.org. Attend your local community policing meeting. Find out what's going on if there are shootings in your neighborhood, among other things. And it's important to stay involved and help be the eyes and ears for the police. It is a pleasure to introduce you to a first-time guest. And I always tell you guys how much I love Facebook, and you should friend me on Facebook, because you can make all sorts of interesting, meet all sorts of interesting people. And my next guest is an example, although we did meet face-to-face actually for the first time, and I have face blindness, so it's a good thing she recognized me, at Tom Seraphin's annual pre-Thanksgiving bash, my favorite party of the year.
It's a blast.
And that is, and I don't think I've ever had to pronounce your name before, but Christine Dittmar Chalkey. Chalkey. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
And hi, welcome.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
First of all, pleasure and thank you. And we've talked about this for a while, but
Sure.
you're also one of the longest travelers. You actually come from Streeter.
Right. Well, we're out in the suburbs now. Streeter's considered a part of the Chicago suburbs, even though it's a 2-hour drive for me, southwest.
2-hour drive. I actually did high school basketball games there as my first professional gig. I was actually the voice of the Morris Redskins and the Coal City Colors that year. Anyway, it looks to me like we're going to talk about something American here, but outside of that guest, I know one of the things you've been most concerned. Now, a little bit about your background. I know you've been tell us, you've been a journalist, a PR person.
Sure. First of all, I'm a mom of 3, one boy who has a developmental disability. I am married, and prior to having children, I worked as a journalist at a newspaper, 2 different newspapers, and I worked in a public relations at a hospital.
Oh, very nice.
And I've worked part-time, off and on, for you, the taxpayers, in some grant position jobs.
Okay. Now, I know that the issue that concerns you the most is what the state is actually not doing as opposed to doing right now with the plight of disabled children.
Right.
And actually having a group home next door, and actually there's a school for kids also with various disabilities. You know, there's 2 of them within a few blocks of here. So it's a problem that's everywhere.
Right. I'm an advocate for people with developmental disabilities, and the reason I do this is because they do not have a voice. Most of the people that are developmentally disabled in their families are just overburdened, stressed out, extremely physically, mentally, emotionally, and financially. And with my son, Jacob, who happens to be 21 years old and one of 18 in the world, and he's the oldest living survivor. He was not supposed to live past age 2.
Wow.
Was never supposed to walk, never supposed to talk, never supposed to read. He has done so well and progressed so well compared to the other 18 children that have this disorder, this very rare disorder, that I feel so extremely blessed that I pay it forward and I speak because I can speak for those that cannot, and for the families that just can't, that are so tired from just taking care of their children, that they just, that one more time to go out and talk or to visit or whatever, they just don't have the time to do it. So that's why I'm here.
I've seen it. As a matter of fact, one of my late mom's best friends, she raised her developmentally disabled daughter until she was in her early 30s, and she was just too old to handle it anymore.
Right.
But you could see that basically was her life.
Right.
You know,
I think the best way to describe taking care of, being a caregiver of a child that, or a family member that's developmentally or physically disabled, especially a child as a parent. When we have children we all know what it's like when we have a sick child. And you hear parents say, I'm so tired, I'm so stressed out. My kid had the flu for 3 days, and I was up all night, and I ran to the doctor, and I had to take him for testing and all these things. Us parents who have a child that has a rare disorder or a cognitive impairment, we live that 24/7, and it's always with us. We never truly really get rest from it. And so that's why I think it's so important that, and our government understands that it's important for us as a society to help the truly most vulnerable and their families so that we can continue to give back and take care of our children.
I also think the fact is that when it's one of the few things the government does of a charitable nature that actually, brings returns and dividends and all the rest of it.
Well, and not just that. It's one of the few things that the government does that we as citizens and we as taxpayers and we as a society want to do. We as Americans are truly the kindest, the most caring of all other nations. And if you compare America to most other countries, we do take care of the vulnerable, the disabled. If you go to other countries, they're on the streets. They're left, they're abandoned. And as Americans, this is what we truly believe our tax dollars should go to, is to help those who can't help themselves. And what's happening today, and the reason I'm speaking, is because as our government gets bigger, as our government becomes more politically correct, as we expand services to able-bodied men and women, what's happening is there are people that are being hurt, and those people are the developmentally disabled. Because as an example, if I want you to remember anything, is that people that are developmentally disabled in our families, we depend, or the developmentally disabled depend on us as a society and the funding, and we need it. And our funding is comparable to pies and a pie chart. When we get the funding, I'm going to say a quarter of this pie is for funding for the developmentally disabled. And what's happening as we expand the services to other people, to able-bodied, we're shrinking that amount of services because there's just not enough pie to go around for everybody. And even though we mean to be well and we're trying to help other people, what we're doing is we're disenfranchising the truly most vulnerable by doing this.
No question. And for those of you who might be curious, of course, that's an apple pie if there's an American flag sticking out of it.
That's right.
But that's, that's so true on many other levels also, because the fact of the matter is, if a person needs to, it's like when all of a sudden government limits run out on people not having to work, all of a sudden, bang, instantly, boom, zoom, people wind up having jobs. So by taking away the people's incentive to have jobs, it's hurting in so many different ways. But as you said, most importantly, we need to help those who really do need the help for real, and not, not somebody who can really fend for themselves. And sometimes a little bit of adversity makes a person that much harder and that much tougher.
Sure. And what's kind of interesting is working with people that are developmentally disabled. They want to work. They don't want to be idle. They don't want the label of developmentally disabled. They want to contribute and be a part of society. And so if you really want to know if somebody has a disability, they're the people that don't want to claim disability or that they need the assistance. They want to be independent and they want to be a part of society. That's what they strive for.
Very much so. And for, we operate out of West Rogers Park in Misericordia, which is really a model.
Right. Mm-hmm.
The state should not be telling Misericordia what to do. Misericordia should be telling the state what to do.
Right.
But that's another story for another day. When I go to the local jeweler, the supermarket, they're busy bagging or they're stocking shelves. Not having a car, being a walker, when I do have to take the bus, I'll see developmentally disabled people on their way to work, and all the rest of it. And I think it's pretty cool because the desire has been put into them because so many were taken care of by Misericordia or brought up in the right circumstances, that they do want to go out and contribute, and that they know that there are positive things they can do in a role they can play in society. Sure. But they do need help to get there.
They need help. They need assistance. Unfortunately, there is always going to be a sect that is going to be totally dependent on us. And that's the sect that, because they cannot defend themselves, because they cannot speak for themselves, those are the ones that are unfortunately being the first to be cut. And as, like I said, as we extend government to able-bodied, they're the first to be cut. And that's because they have nobody to speak for them. They have nobody to represent them. And that's what I'm trying to do, is to give back and to help them.
And I think that's very important, and I think you guys should pick up on that. So if people want to contact you or get channeled properly.
Sure. One of the best places, as Avi said, is Facebook. Facebook is a social network, and it's a wonderful place to reach out. That's where I meet a lot of the parents that I help, a lot of the information that I get out, and it's free, okay? Please contact me. I'm Christine Dittmar Chalkey on Facebook. I also have a Twitter page, which is called Developmental Disabilities, or DD in Illinois for the Twitter page. And I also have a specific page for developmental disabilities called Developmental Disabilities in Illinois. And that page is specifically to all news on what's happening, what the state is doing, where the cuts are going, and who needs help or needs to connect.
We're out of time. Thank you so much, Christine.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.